Jim Austin, founder of the Border Trail and the host of Angler's Paradise, home of the professional weekend angler. I'm on my way fishing, bass fishing that is, as you can very well see. So why don't you take this journey with me as I take you into the world of bass fishing and how all this hoopla got started. There's a gentleman that we affectionately call the Bass Boss. Now he had that ability to become the founder and the creator of the largest bass fishing organization in the world, the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society. This industry creates over $48 billion annually. And this man, known to most, is none other than Ray Scott. Today I have the pleasure of having an icon, a true legend in the sport of bass fishing, the founder and the creator of the largest fishing organization in the world, the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society. This man, as many of you might know, as I know and truly respect, Ray Scott.
That's very, very flattering. Continue.
You know, when you think about it, Ray, you know, all the things that you have accomplished in the world of bass fishing, I would just like to know what happened, what motivated you to create an organization of this magnitude?
Well, I must confess that I didn't have this what we see today in the Bass organization, this outfit here. I didn't envision that in the complex scene that it created today. It started out with if I may just tell you the story real fast. I was in the insurance business, as I've spoken with you earlier in our visit, and I was with a very fine company, and I had 4 states that I was in charge of, and I had to travel considerably. And one of the states that I had was 4 of them, as a matter of fact, was Alabama, of course, where I live, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And I was responsible for going to the calling on creative agencies and people to sell the stuff we were selling. And I had a habit of ending up on Friday afternoons during fishing season where the fish were. When you could pick your own places to fish. And I had, Jackson, Mississippi had a fishing lake over called Ross Barnett Reservoir. Man, that thing was hot as a firecracker. And on one spring day of March, as I recall, mid-March, I ended up on Friday night there, and I had a buddy who was a postman who had a boat, and he and I planned on a Saturday morning fishing trip. And well, we were out there fishing about 30 minutes, and it was clouding up already, then it started spitting a little bit, and after about an hour and a half of getting our clothes wet, we decided to call it a day. And so around noon we went back. He put me out at the Ramada Inn on, I'll never forget it, right on going on Highway 80 right through the middle of Jackson, Mississippi. And he said, I'll be back and we'll get out and eat some supper tonight. I know where a good place is. So I went in by myself, he'd gone on home, and I took off all the wet clothes. It took me a hot shower because it was March and it was nippy, 1967. And put on some dry underwear and flopped onto the bed in that room back in the Ramada Inn and watching TV. And it happened to be the time of the year when the basketball tournament was underway. You know, have these competitions, you know. And I'm watching this basketball and I'm thinking, you know, it's a rotten darn shame that bass fishing don't have anything like that. There's no competition. It's far more people fishing than do play basketball. And then I thought, I'm going to put on a fishing tournament and see if I can get something going. And it was just a little spark. I didn't think about anywhere to go but one place. That was Beaver Lake. I mean, I never thought about another lake. I didn't think about Montgomery or Atlanta, Beaver Lake. Well, the next day I packed my suitcase and headed straight north to Little Rock, Arkansas. Got up on Sunday afternoon late and checked in a hotel. Got on, next morning I went to the Capitol. That's where it's tourism. It's down the hall on the right. I said, where's Beaver Lake? I wasn't even sure. It wasn't clear in the article that I'd read. They told me. I went back to the hotel. Listen to this, God's truth. Swear to God, take a polygraph on it. I called Springdale, Arkansas and Rogers, Arkansas, and the lakes laid between those 2 towns. I said, I want the Chamber of Commerce phone numbers on both those towns. I called Rogers, Arkansas. And I said, hello, is this a Chamber of Commerce? Yeah. my name is Ray Scott, and I'm the head man of the All-American Invitational B.A.S.S tournament. Made that up real quick. He said, we're considering bringing a tournament up to Beaver Lake and wondered if you would be interested in being a sponsor. Give you a lot of good publicity, bring people into the community to spend money, restaurants, hotel. The guy said, not remotely interested, because I'm quitting this job about a month going back to Arkadelphia. I said, fine, hung up the phone, dialed Springdale, the other town I had there on the other side of the lake. Lady asked us, she said, you need to speak with Lee Zachary. Lee Zachary, he's the head man. He ain't been there for 3 or 4 months. He was full of fire. I got him on the phone and he said, I said, I'm Ray Scott. I'm the head man of the All-American Invitational B.A.S.S tournament. He said, yes, I've heard of your organization. Wonder who's B.S. and who. And he said, what can we do together? I said, well, we're considering coming to Springdale and do Beaver Lake tournament. And he said, well, I tell you what, we'd be real interested in. When can we talk? I said, well, I'm in Little Rock right now. So, long story short, I drove up that afternoon and to meet the Chamber of Commerce man, and it turned out to be 2 other men sitting at the Holiday Inn waiting. And they were both marinas owners. Now, this was a new lake at that time, and they were suffering. Marina owners had a lot of money invested, but there wasn't much traffic.
Right.
I went to Holiday Inn, and there they all 3 sat there. We sat down, and I talked to them. I said, I need, I forget what the number was. I needed $7,500 to do the sponsorship. I'm going to bring 100 fishermen in from around the country. All the publicity's going to go with it. And I made a story up, which turned out to be a true story.
Right.
And they sat there quietly listening to me slinging it out like I'm slinging it out right now. And then we'll forget. He said, well, Mr. Scott said, these 2 gentlemen here are marina owners. And I might say parenthetically, they were losing their tail.
Right.
They were not, they needed publicity. The lake was a new lake, 2 or 3 years old, and they just were not making ends meet. I told the guy, I said, when can I talk to you guys? And he said, well, we can't make that decision. That's the chamber decision. We both have marinas, and we'd love to have you come, but you got to get this, we got to sell the chamber on it. I said, what time tomorrow do they meet? He said, well, this is a Monday. He said, they ain't meet for about 2 weeks. I got to go back. I drove all the way back to Montgomery, went back in the insurance business, and waited for a call. Well, finally they did call. And I drove all the way 600 miles out to Springdale, Arkansas, in the Holiday Inn. I met this guy, two men sitting there and the chamberman. Made my pitch to the chamber. They asked me to stand outside the door. I remember it was in March, and it was sleeting and spitting rain and snow, and I stood out there shaking, and finally after about 10 minutes, I guess, they called me back in and said, well, Mr. Scott said, we're very impressed with your idea, but we're not going to be able to sponsor it. We just don't have the money, but if you want to do it on your own, spend your own money, but we ain't got $7,500, whatever it was. Well, I left there and got in the car with Dr. Oh Lord, what's his name? Applegate, Stanley Applegate, a physician. He owned the marina, Prairie Creek Marina, right there on the lake. And the other gentleman, by the way, was named Joe Robinson. He owned the one called War Eagle on up the river on the top side of the lake. And so I went out. I got in the car with old Joe Robinson. He had a little real estate office out near the lake, and I got in the car with him, and we were both kind of depressed because they turned me down. And I went to his office with him, and I never will forget, we parked, we were just inside the building, and another car pulled up. It was Dr. Applegate, who owned the Prairie Creek Marina. He said, Joe, how'd you go? I didn't get to the meeting. He said, it turned us down, Doc. He was a doc physician. And he said, and by now it's getting dark. And I never will forget, as long as I live, we're standing right in the doorway, right on the outside of the doorway, on the little shed. He said, what do you think you're going to do? I said, well, I ain't going to be able to do nothing, I reckon. I got to have a little help to do it. And I said, they turned me down at the chamber. He told Joe, he said, I didn't get to come to the meeting. And he's a little short guy. He looked up at me, I never will forget as long as I live. He looked at me in the square in the eyes. Boom. He said, Scott, he said, let me ask you something. Do you really think you can get 100 people to come out here into this tournament? I looked square in his eyes and I said, "Doctor, I am more certain of that than the surgery you did last week." He looked at me, I never forget it. It's a cold man, it was a serious look. And I never will forget it. God is my witness. I'll never forget. He reached, he had his little tweed jacket on, and he pulled his jacket open. I reached in there and pulled a checkbook out and bent it a couple of times and scribbled something on it. He said, "Scott, here's $3,500. If you can do it for that, then you go for it." He said, "All I ask is if you can pay me back if you make it. But all I ask, if you don't make it, just don't ever tell my wife I gave you the $3,500. I swear to God, I never forget it. And this was in the twilight, right outside his office, and old Joe Robinson was standing over. Of course, he didn't have much money. He had fees for marinas all he had.
Right.
But that was dark. That was on I forget, Tuesday or Wednesday of the week. And the next morning, I'm in the Holiday Inn there in Springdale. And I walked into the lobby, and there was the desk there where you check in, and there was a young man that happened to walk through there. I noticed he had manager written across, he had his name on there. I said, "You the manager?" Young guy, I wasn't 23 or 4 years old. He said, "Yeah, I'm the manager." I said, "Well, let me ask you something. How would you like to be the headquarters of the All-American Invitational Bass Tournament?" He said, "What's involved now?" I said, "Nothing. All you got to do is give me a room for 2 months, free." And he said, "That ain't no problem." And he said it so quick, and then I added, "and a 25% discount on any food I eat in the restaurant." He thought about that a minute. He said, "There ain't no problem." I shook hands with him. I turned over, so help me God, I turned around and walked like from here to the desk over there, and there's a pretty little old girl working the check-in. I said, "Sugar, I need some help. I need me a secretary." Now all this happening, this all happened just talking to the manager. All of it happened in less than 5 minutes. I need a secretary to describe what I wanted, the clerical, answer the phone, do the filing and this, that, and the other. She says, "I know," blink, "I know the perfect girl. Her name is Darlene Phillips," was her name, Darlene Phillips. "I'll introduce you to her sometime." I said, "How about 15 minutes from now? I'm in a big hurry." She said, "Hold on." She went over and she had that switchboard, I remember, with all the little wires you pull off and all, and she punched them holes, and in a minute she said, "She'll be here in 10 minutes. God's working. She walked in pretty same you ever saw. She's probably 28, 29 years old. Family, husband worked for one of the truck companies there, had 3 kids, and she sat out in the restaurant over a cup of coffee, and I told her my dream about having 100 men come out here and didn't have anybody. And she got excited. Long story short, we went to work together, went to the chamber, cleaned out a little storeroom in the back of the Chamber of Commerce they let me use, and made us a little office. And we went to the telephone company in Springdale, Arkansas, and I wrote a check for $1,333. I believe that was the number, which was a watch line. Call anybody, anywhere for 1 month. And that afternoon, they put it in. And we were in bed the next morning, and I'm on the phone calling everybody I knew, not only trying to get him to sign up, but tell me who his buddy is. A month later, when they came in and pulled that thing out of the wall, I had 106 men from 13 states. And I was in business.
There's one other thing I want to talk to you about, and it would be complete if I didn't talk to you about it. 20 years ago, back in 1992, there was an incident where you talked about your guest house. And I remember you even calling me.
Did I call you?
You called me. I'm Jim
Okay,
Austin.
okay.
I was the president of the largest predominantly black fishing organization.
I remember that call.
That's right. And
Oh, you made a call. I don't know how we got together.
Yeah, Mike Gordon put us together.
Well, let me tell you that story, and I think it's good. I'm glad you asked.
Let me finish this before
Yes, go ahead.
you answer. There are some things I want to say to you.
Well, that's our show for today. When we return next time, we will talk to Ray about the kill switch, the life jacket, and yes, there was a little bit of controversy between Ray and myself. See you next time, right here on Angler's Paradise, home of the Professional Weekend Angler.